Welcome back. This is Daybreak, and thanks for staying with us. The hashtag on X is Citizen Daybreak. The SMS code is 22422 at Citizen TV Kenya, and at Ayub Abdikadir. Philip Pande is Youth Inclusive Advisor. Buka Omole, the Communist Party Marxist Kenya. Nathaniel Mongare, the Director of Political Affairs and Resource Mobilization at the UDA Party. Steve Munania is the Deputy Governor, Muranga County, and Angel Mbudi is the Chairperson of the Jubilee Party Youth League. Lady and gentlemen, your time is all appreciated. Many thanks. So your right of reply, then I go to the Deputy.
Yeah, the first thing is the question that you'd ask Mongare. Because in the Kenyan politics, in fact, the important players of the Kenyan politics contradict each other because they don't have a clear line of thought on what to implement. So today I will say Ruto is the worst. And then tomorrow again, I come to the TV, I say Ruto is the best. Because people have cheapened Kenyan politics. It depends on what am I getting. But out of principle and ideology, I think Mongare went around and said the delegates are the most important people. But the actual thing is that if you look at Mudavadi and his former party leader, he's just cutting deals. So it's not a question of the powers of the delegates. So they keep on contradicting each other. In fact, if you look at, for example, Raila Amolo Odinga, sometimes he says, don't pay Anglo-leasing. Tomorrow he says, Anglo-leasing is good. The other day he told us, Ruto is the most corrupt person. Today, Ruto is Bay. So really, this is how political parties have been built, that they want to steal the political power through only deception. So however much you can lie and sustain that lie, then you can be a politician in this country. Okay. Then the second one that he actually mentioned is it's a basic economic principle, that there are two diverse ideologies. One is that there are people who believe that the rich minority can take political power and lead the country only to make profits. This is not bottom-up economic model. This is actually the trickle-down effect. Capitalism par excellence. The other one, which is the bottom-up economic model, we can run Ruto's policies and we can see where it fits. For example, the most failed economic policy that Ruto ever rolled out was the Hustler Initiative, which he was just thinking that people can go to the streets, get some loan of $5 and sell groundnuts and become rich. And then he added a lie to it that he was a chicken farmer. So everybody should see him. So in this case, you see, there is nothing there that is called the trickle-down economic model. Now, if you look at the housing project, it is not a trickling housing, it's not a bottom-up economic model because the houses are funded by the public, the buyers are private, and the prices are beyond the hustler people that he talks about. Okay. So I just wanted to confirm that the bottom-up economic model was a total deception to lie to the youth. And that is why the youth are rioting against the president.
Yes, Bonadiji. Yes. Allow Bonadiji to come in.
I want to come in from the perspective that whatever we have right now in the issue and why the Gen Z are coming up, it's not an issue of the philosophies of the political parties that went to elections in 2022. The Kenya Kwanza administration had a clear platform on what they wanted to do. The ODM party and Azimio la Umoja coalition, they had a clear, they had an agenda on what they wanted to do. Once you come into power, it's no longer a question of the philosophy that you held, but now it's a question of implementation. And the young people are very alive to the idea that if you have an agenda that is well implemented as it was communicated, then you do not have a problem of an uprising or people who feel disenfranchised. And I'm going to give an example. The majority of Kenyans right now are aged between the age of 15 and 35. Those are the young people. They are the most affected by the policy of the Shisha Afia issue, because they are the ones who are having children. Okay. They are the ones who are taking children to school. They are the one who are being affected by issues of unemployment. They are still the people who are affected by the school funding model. They are the people who are still affected by mention every problem that you do have. The young people are taking the blunt of that issue. So whatever we have right now is not an issue of what we said in 2022. It's about how far have we implemented or how logically, how sound have we been able to implement that. And I'm going to give another example. Look at our healthcare system. And I'm saying that from a point of implementation. I'm the Deputy Governor of Muranga County. We have 1 level 5 hospital, 7 level 4 hospitals, 26 health centers, and 124 dispensaries. We have both levels of primary health care, and we have both the ones that are served by SHA and the ones that are served by the insurance model.
Okay.
If you look at that healthcare system, I, as an administrator in the counties, I have the responsibility to ensure that there is medicine, to ensure that there is equipment, to ensure that we have a model that works in terms of implementation. Look at the policy at the national level. The policy at the national level states that in order for you to get services at the dispensary level, you need to register from a primary care network. The young people who are having children right now are going to the dispensaries, they have registered. Then they say that you only have to pay once, unalipa mwezi moja. So you pay, go through the means testing. The means testing that you are told it was 300 gives you a price tag of 1,200. But then, by the time I as a county am going to implement that in the county, you have just paid for 1 month. I go to the system, you have given birth in this dispensary, and I need to claim that money so that I can fund that dispensary and its operations. By the time I'm going to claim that, you have already exited the system, and then by the time I'm going to SHA, I'm told that you are no longer a contributing member, so that transaction is cancelled. Right now, the funding of the hospitals has dropped by a factor of 80%. In a hospital that I used to collect 400,000 shillings per day, right now, due to claims that are denied or otherwise rejected, they have come down to 70,000. That's a huge issue in terms of implementation in healthcare. So when you talk about the young people and about their position, whether you want to talk about the bottom-up economic model, what's the soundness of this? And that's why I'm saying right now we are not dealing with an issue of a political party that did not understand itself. We are dealing about individuals in government who do not know how to implement policies that favor the people of this country.
So is that the national government you have described?
Yes.
Philip, you had a point?
Well, I'll respond to Buka because I thought he was responding to Mongare. Then he advanced.
By extension, you became a casualty.
He mentioned my political party leader in an advanced manner, mentioning Anglo leasing with Raila Odinga in the same line, which should not be the case. And I think Buka should be able to...
payments.
No. You should be very factual about him supporting payments for Anglo leasing. Yeah. The other thing I wanted to mention...
Well, why did he support Adani, which was a corrupt entity?
Correct. He has not supported Adani.
He did. He said they were clean when he met the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi. He gave them the clean bill of health. He stated in a statement from the county of Mombasa.
But and you had seen correct me.
Let's deal with this.
The point is, Philip,
yes,
that if we are to apply the equality sledgehammer here,
okay,
no politician in this country, especially the crop that has emerged since 1960s and 70s, can say hand on heart that they are clean. Why did your party leader then support or issue a statement in effect to supporting the Adani deal?
So,
why not for the American courts? Then that would have been otherwise express passage by Parliament.
Let's deal with two issues. Issue number one is that the former Prime Minister has not supported payment of Anglo leasing. That's the fact. The second thing is that Adani was something not known to a majority of Kenyans, including myself, until the day we had whistleblowers in this country talking about Adani, which we have to really give credit to. I personally do not support Adani and have never supported Adani. The former Prime Minister, in my factual memory, mentioned that we need PPPs to support development of the country. And that is a fact that exists in the Republic. Whether as to supporting the details of what the government was entering with Adani or whatever, I think that should be more of a personal position than a public position that we want to adduce today. But I want to be on record that the former Prime Minister does not support the position of the payment to Anglo leasing. The second thing that I was mentioning on philosophy, which we have to really go to, is when we're talking about a political party. For example, we're talking about social democracy in ODM, and we come down to the details of what we're representing. If you go back to the days of KANU, and this is the difference between the political parties then and today. KANU talks about African socialism, and in 1965 we have the session of paper 10 that then talks to the details of African socialism as what KANU was going to implement. Now, the DG here is talking about bottom-up economic model and the new health funding model, which should be resonating with the bottom-up economic model. But then there is a dichotomy between the implementation of that model and the government in place. It is not about the people implementing this. It's about the government that runs this. If KANU successfully made session of paper 10 that then talked about African socialism as what they believed in and implemented that for a long time, at least until 2013, I would say, when we had the Vision 2030, then you see the consistency between a political party philosophy and what they're implementing in terms of a manifesto. You see what we're talking about as social democracy in ODM and the reforms in the new constitution, devolution, and aspects of good governance. So a political party, for example, like UDA, which is in power, talking about bottom-up economic model, must resonate that within with its manifesto and implementation. There is no difference between the implementation of a political party promise and the political party philosophy. So when you see a dichotomy between the implementation of the actual thing that they're talking about and their philosophy, running philosophy, know that the political party is not based on a philosophy, and that's the difference.
Yeah, and just on a point of correction, yes. Odinga said in December, certainly it was a good deal. People need to understand that the government cannot finance development projects on the basis of taxation. It's not sustainable at all. What other governments are doing is to attract private investors into some of these development projects. He said, because of competition, and therefore I will not regret what I said on Adani. The government clearly had denied other options that were on the table, other investors who are willing to undertake that. The point is then, how then do we defend this political elite in light of this evidence?
I see the confusion here. Because you can see there are political parties that serve the same government, but they have very diverse. In fact, the deputy governor now blames the national government. The UDA and the ODM that should be talking one language because they are implementing reforms are fighting in the same studio. This is the confusion that we see here today. But
okay, you will proceed with the point. Allow me now to get to Nathaniel and Angel. Nathaniel, then how does this conversation go forward? Look at the clear dichotomy in terms of what Odinga had subscribed to and what now your party leader, William Ruto, had always. One supported the new constitution, the other did not in 2010. How then do you move this broad-based arrangement forward in light of these conflicting positions about issues that are very, very grave regarding our constitutional order?
Thank you, Abdi. I want to agree, first of all, with Steve, the Deputy Governor, and also, in contrast, disagree with Buka, what he's saying. First of all, Kenyans in 2022 agreed unanimously that UDA is the ruling party with a clear majority in Parliament. And I want to make a statement that what the MPs are doing in Parliament is to assist the government, because we are in the same manifesto called the Plan, to implement that manifesto. So if the Parliament is voting legislation that gives effect of further policies or regulations that support the implementation of the plan, then that is a very good thing. It's not sycophancy or anything. It's subscribing to the ideals of the party, because it's the party that gave you the ticket to go to Parliament. And in fact, if there is a member of Parliament at any point in time who has a conflict between his personal principle and the party position, you should abandon your personal principle as an MP and support the party position all the time. So the party position takes precedence in every other party issue.
Even when the party position is against public interest?
Even if you disagree with the party position.
Yeah. But how did they get the majority in Parliament?
Yes, that is the point. I'll come there. But even if you disagree with the position of UDA internally, once UDA takes a position, you should defend it as if it was your own position.
So even when that interest is against the public?
No, the party has to take a position that is aligning with the public. And that's why the political party within, and I will wish to say this, Abdi, the party has to become, and that's what we are doing in UDA, we are a reliable watchdog of our own principles as a party. So internally, first of all, we will never take a position that is against the public. And secondly, if the party position is taken clearly, all members of the party, including MPs, governors, have to align with that position. So secondly...
In 2024, the Kenyan people said, don't pass the finance bill 2024. It contains punitive tax proposals. Yes. MPs were dead against it. In fact, they mocked Kenyans, saying that they will be coming to protest with Uber. And later on, they had to wait for the president's note for that finance bill to be withdrawn. Was it all that when Parliament is independent?
You see, the president invoked wisdom and listened to the people. He listened to the Gen Z, and he withdrew the finance bill, all the clauses.
So is it the president to withdraw or Parliament?
First of all, under the laws of Parliament, it is the President wrote to the Speaker of Parliament saying that the executive, because the bill originated from the executive, it went through the motions of parliamentary procedure and went to Parliament. So the President has the powers to withdraw all the clauses of a finance bill, and that's what happened. And I'm very happy at the time, under his presidency, people are now discussing issues. In the previous times, under the previous regimes, people didn't even know what is a finance bill. People knew that an appropriation bill, a budget policy statement, all of them are a finance bill. But for the first time in history, the citizen, the public is robustly engaging the government. And that's a very it's a good quantum leap forward. So, but secondly, I wanted to mention something more important. The government is implementing the plan and what we promised Kenyans. Implementation, what the DG is saying, does not take 1 month. That's why there is a cycle of implementing something. Even for a child to be born, there has to be a 9-month period. And there is always usually motions, kicking and all that. It is very difficult when you inherit an economy that did not have a lot of money in it, and the president has stabilized that economy. Partly, I blame the media.
But there was a lot of money.
I blame
the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics said that the government had at its disposal 3.025 trillion Kenya shillings. Rigathi Gachagua misled the country. You are here to also subscribe into the same script.
No, Abdi, I want to remind you something. This is the second this is the second budget of this government. The first budget, we came in when there was 2 quarters of the financial year were remaining.
Yeah.
We had the first financial year, and this is the second financial year. People are forgetting this important fact. We are getting into the second financial year and the second budget of this administration. So you don't expect within one financial year or one financial cycle that all the projects we promised Kenyans in the plan will be implemented. You must give time to be able to implement some of these projects. For example, I find it a contradiction that people are saying we need the government to remove all the slums from across the country. When the government takes a clear position that we want to build affordable houses, and people, I wanted to say that I partly blame the media for shaping this narrative. For example, the media should not be a champion of the government, but the media should have balanced reporting so that people have clear facts on what's going on. You see, when the government is building houses for the affordable housing, the scheme will be under rent-to-own scheme.
I'll come to the point.
But Mongare is lecturing us about government's achievements.
I'll hold him to account.
I have a right.
Yes.
You see, this is what Abdi I wanted to say. Yeah. I have a right to give information to the public on what's going on. Government wants to eliminate slums through affordable housing and give people a dignified life on a daily basis through the rent-to-own schemes, through the affordable houses. Government wants to give people the universal health coverage. For a very long time, we've been talking about universal health coverage, but nobody has taken a clear decision to implement. When the government is implementing this thing, it is not going to be instant gratification. That's why most successful companies in the world, like what the Japanese say, Kaizen, the principle of continuous improvement, you will start something, what the governor was describing, the SHA, it has taken a departure from NHIF. When you implement something, you adopt the principle of Kaizen, like the Japanese, continuously improving the business.
Point made.
If you see a Prado of this year, next year the model will be different because it will have improved.
But that's not the first. I'll come to Angel.
It's not the first. Perfect from day one.
Okay, for example, in the manifesto you launched on the 30th of June 2022, you don't mention in your manifesto page number 20 that you're going to deduct Kenyans in order to undertake the affordable housing projects.
Now, let's come to that. Initially,
because this is what your own manifesto says. To just read you, on page number 20, the Kenya Kwanza commitment, 250 billion Kenya shillings between the financial years, 22-23, 26-27, of which budget commitment 50 billion Kenya shillings, with 200 billion to be financed by pension funds and assets management, currently which stands at 1.5 trillion, and other collective investment schemes, including diaspora bonds. You said that you are not going to deduct Kenyans. Page 20 of your manifesto says...
Okay, let me speak to that. There are two ways government raises money. Yes. There is taxes and borrowing when there is a deficit. Initially, the housing levy was a savings, but there was a lot of feedback and outcry during the public participation for the first financial year in government. We converted that from a saving to a tax, so that this tax is being used to build these houses. And then after the houses are ready, there is an off-take agreement with the developers. When they are ready, they are given to the public through what we call the rent-to-own scheme. You convert your rent to mortgage. This is what the government is clearly doing, and we are unapologetic about that. And the people decried in that the public participation exercise by the Finance Committee of the National Assembly that they don't want that. Because initially it was 3%, we decided to put it down. So they said do it away. Tax. No, there was feedback. There was feedback from the public. And Abdi, let me tell you, when these houses will be ready and people will be living in these houses, the conversation will change about the idea of eliminating slums in this country. Thank you. Angel, coming to you. It seems there's a lot of noise within in the political context of all this, but appears there's a wholesale failure on the face of the political establishment.
From where I sit, when you talk about principles in the political environment, I would go back to my party, Jubilee Party. We have had the same stance since 2022 and even before 2022. And we maintained that the bottom-up economic agenda was a bottom-down economic agenda, and it has become exactly that. And we were also furious in 2023 when they wanted to pass the 2023-2024 finance bill. And that is when we had the cost of living protests, because Kenyans, we tend to forget very quickly. And then in that same breath, we went again to support the Gen Z movement and say that, that the government was still as punitive as it was before. And when we look at ourselves as political parties, even we as Kenyans, we are the ones who enable these political parties and these politicians to do as they wish. Because what we saw was a bloodbath in June 25th, when young people were trying to say that you politicians are making a mistake. And for what my friend Mongare here is talking about, the president being a good guy by rescinding the finance bill of 2024-2025, it was after 60 young people had been killed in the streets when we were watching, and when the media was even in full broad daylight. There was nothing good about that. We saw him being cold-hearted, heartless and merciless for him to have done that. Let's not forget about the principles of politicians. We've seen a person like Martha Karua. That is a woman, we know her. We know if Ruto calls her today, we know her first response. We know her, who she is. But we still go ahead to select and appoint and celebrate people whom we know are corrupt and are dubious. And the other aspect is what my friend Mongare here is saying, that Mr. President, that Ruto has done very well in ensuring that young people are aware of governance and policy issues, but that's not the case. They have nothing to do with why young people are so educated and are so informed. It's because of the free primary education that we had in 2002 that has brought up the young people we have today, who have the knowledge that is required to analyze this nation. The other thing that allows us to be able to question and follow this government is the technology that had been instituted by the Jubilee government, that was laid by the Jubilee government, because that is one of the milestones of Jubilee parties, to ensure, it ensured that there was proper digital infrastructure in this country, ensuring that Kenya has one of the lowest data costs until today, but now your government again wants to go ahead and tax digital spaces to ensure that even young people cannot be able to subscribe to those digital spaces. Okay. So no young people have nothing to do with Mr. Ruto being able to have them informed of the things that they know today. When we are asking what is the difference between a levy and a tax, because that is the question on housing, your government cannot explain whether housing is a levy or a tax.
Okay.
But that is not the case between the CS and the PS.
Okay.
The PS is saying it is a saving, the CS is saying it is a tax. So what is wrong with your government,
Okay,
Bongare?
I'll come to you on whether you can absolve the former President Uhuru Kenyatta for also gross violation of the Constitution and also the avalanche of court cases and court orders that were ignored. I'll come to you.
Yeah.
Yes, Buka, you had a point, and then I'll come to Bwana DJ.
First of all, Bongare, I sympathize with you. I know it's a difficult task to defend organized crime. And we appreciate it.
And it's not organized.
But you're doing your work. The second thing that I wanted to say, that everything that we have gotten from President Ruto, from Kenya Kwanza government, we have forced upon him. There is nothing that the Kenyan people have gotten from the Kenya Kwanza government without a fight, even to be heard by young people. So we cannot even think that President William Samoei Ruto is in charge of this country. Because every time we even tell him, like for example, when we went to the street, our voice was clear. We need just life with dignity. Now, Bongare is taking us to all this nonsense by saying that only Gachagua is pushing for tribal politics. What about your boss? What happened when they went to Nyanza, for example? Did they not invoke tribal sentiments by saying that it is the first time for a Luo to be in the treasury? So I think we need to be very clear with people about it. Now, in terms of the deputy, also, why are you running from your party? Now everything you're accusing for the national government, while clearly your party was part of the support of the government. So I think we should go back because you're discussing party after party. So you cannot run away from failure and only go to domesticate things at the local level. I appreciate that the ODM has clear ideology of social democracy. But why is, for example, for a fact, if you're talking about contradictory of party after party, why is it that the ODM is supporting the current government? Basically, ODM is complicit with murder. ODM is complicit with people who loot resources. So is this part of the social democracy? For example, when we talk about the housing project, which is an entire scam, because housing should go to the people who needs it most. Bongare is telling me that Mathare people and Kibera people will get mortgage to own houses. Where will they get? Which bank will give them?
Okay, but
the other thing that I wanted just to advance is
for how long? Just hang on. For how long did you know the persona of the president now? For how long have you known him?
I have known him since the most unfortunate incident, the massacres during the Moi era, when he used to lead the militia, which was a YK-92. That is how I know him.
Okay.
I also know him, because you have asked me.
I just wanted a brief response, and that's not something that we can prove, because Human Rights Watch also documented that it was a wholesale failure on the part of the Kanu government in 1992 elections. I ask you that question.
Who was leading the Kanu government?
So you had known him for a long period of time,
yes,
right? Mm. Why did you support him in 2022?
First of all, I did not support it.
Your party was part of your former party was part of the Kenya Kwanza line?
That's correct.
Yes.
And that is why...
So if you had known him for this long...
In fact, now even...
This is my question. If you had known him for this long, as a YK-92 stalwart, then an MP in 1997, a minister in the Grand Coalition government, the first deputy president, who opposed the 2010 constitution, became a beneficiary first as a deputy president, and now president, how different are you from the same people in the political class you are accusing of double standards?
First of all, I am on record on Citizen TV coming here to challenge the few people in the Communist Party of Kenya that signed a personal agreement with President William Samoei Ruto. In fact, I call him, he's shopping. Anybody has a price. So even now, why did we have to change our party to the Communist Party Marxist? Because the entire Communist Party was bought. That is when we say that he's an organized criminal who want to actually destroy democracy in this country in a minute. And his pawn at the Registrar of Political Parties, as my sister had said, is facilitating the death of political parties. This is important. Even when they wrote a letter, for example,
yes,
to the citizen to tell them that I am not part of the Communist Party and I should not, why did they have to gag the media for highlighting the issues that are affecting this government.
Well, there was no gagging. You are just making...
No, but let me go further. Because you had cut me short.
Yes.
You had cut me short.
Briefly, I need to go to Bonadija briefly.
Yes. I just wanted to finish that if you're talking about today party after party and ideology after ideology, what must be noted is that these political parties must hold to their philosophy to avoid contradictions that we can see in this very debate. Because, and I gave a certain example, and I wanted to give the two last ones in 1 second. The first one was the new funding model of the Jubilee administration.
Buka, face me, please.
Yeah.
I'll just pause you because we need to fairly distribute the timing. You'll talk about that. Yes,
allow me to go against him for 1 minute on the issue that he has said that we are in the same government that is behaving differently. And I want to put it in a point across. I represent a devolved function that has an executive mandate that came into government using the Kenya Kwanza vehicle. I am a member of the Kenya Kwanza government, but we have an executive mandate for the people of Murang'a, and our manifesto in the county government of Murang'a was based on the bottom-up economic model. And the question that we are asking right now, there are issues that are connected between the county government and those that are connected by the national government because of the shared functions, and those that we implement based on the manifesto that we brought to the people of Murang'a. And specifically, and my question has always been, how well a government functions or how well a political party function is based on the implementation of its manifesto on its most basic service delivery.
Like healthcare, which you have mentioned.
Like healthcare that I have mentioned.
So how comes then you are finding it easy and not running away. There is a difference. You gave us a beautiful illustration of how you
an implementation
of healthcare.
An implementation gap.
In Murang'a County, you talked about Bonadiji, how you are implementing the healthcare program.
Yes.
Why then is it difficult at the national level? The question, and this is what I am speaking to. In Murang'a, we have a methodology that we use when we're implementing county programs that are wide-reaching to the people. The issue of having a well-piloted program that can so that you gather data, that you can be able to gather ground information, so that when you're implementing, you can be able to handle the political issues that you came up during piloting. You can be able to understand some of the challenges that you might encounter. And I want to give an example. When the Kenya Kwanza administration, we were in our campaign trail, we promised people various things, and especially for the people in Murang'a. The number one thing that we actually promised people was actually number one was a school feeding program. But it is a very complex process to fund a school feeding program. So in Murang'a, what we actually did, we piloted in 5 wards. We piloted in 5 wards to get an understanding about how can we be able to implement this on a larger scale. Once we got the data that we needed, we went to the county assembly, we created a policy, we gave it a budget implementation. Right now in Murang'a, you have all 700 ECD centers having a program of a school feeding program that the parents do not pay for. That was a policy that was implemented that we promised the people through the Kenya Kwanza campaigns as a bottom-up economic model. Same case with what we promised the people on agriculture, which is minimum guaranteed returns. Very simple concept. Okay.
Minimum guaranteed returns. You need to guarantee the farmer the ability to earn so that the money that we promise them in their pocket can be able to remain in their pocket. So what did we do? We took several value chains that we did support. For the case of mango in Murang'a, we had a partnership with processors, whether they are from Murang'a or not from Murang'a.
Okay.
They uptake and guarantee certain minimum guaranteed returns. And the question that I am putting forward is this. I am not in competition with the national government, or rather dissuading the national government of its policies. What I am simply saying, the gap in implementation stands where the Kenyans are losing. And it's where the young people everywhere across this country. If, for example, the issue of housing, and the president clearly indicated when we were in the campaign trail. I remember we were in Murang'a, we went all the way across the country saying about the housing issue. It wasn't about the houses themselves. It was about employment.
How do you sustain those employment?
And the question I want to come to
yes.
There is various ways in which you can be able to bring about employment without taxing people. Because the question has been, we have salaried Kenyans.
Yes.
I am finishing up. We have salaried Kenyans and you want to put money into their pockets. If you need to expand the middle class, you need to expand the businesses, you should be able to be putting more money into the Kenyan pocket instead of taking out. And the question that now on implementation is how best do we get employment without drawing back on the ability of Kenyans to purchase, produce businesses, and even create more employment by themselves.
Yes, and that is what the report says, continued informalization of the Kenyan economy, 700,000 jobs created, but more than 90% of that is at the informal sector, and only 3 million Kenyans, therefore, are within the KRA records to pay taxes. Yes, Philip.
Ayub, thank you. And I want to build on the points that Buka is raising here. And thank you for raising the fact that Communist Party is in government. There is no such a party in Kenya today that is registered and is called Communist Marxist Party. That is a creation of Buka, and that is what he's coming up with. He knows where he's sitting today. Buka,
you'll make your point, Buka, hang on.
Please, you mentioned us, and that's why I'm rebutting. So he acknowledges ODM as a social democrat, a party that then supports social democracy in the country. And that, Buka, I think we are on record. But he says then that we are supporting a government that then does not support the people of Kenya. First of all, his party, Communist Party, the party leader, the chairperson, and all that are in government. So the outfit that Buka today is working with, which is called the Communist Marxist Party of Kenya, does not exist. So secondly, CPMK. The second, it does not exist. It does. It's not registered. There is no Marxist party registered in Kenya under Communist Party today. So that you can search with the register of political parties. So Buki cannot have his day attacking political parties when his own political party is in government. The second thing is on what ODM is supporting. We're on record. And just last weekend, Ayub, the acting party leader of ODM mentioned and reminded government that, yes, we've stabilized the ship for you today, but we will not do it every day. We will not be here firefighting for you every day, especially when you don't support issues that Kenyans are raising, when you don't respond to issues that Kenyans are raising. And like Mongare here mentions, we donated individuals that we call experts that have stabilized government for this country. The president had run out of the runway, and we have come in to support and stabilize that. If you look at the treasury today, Ayub, all the county governments today, as we speak, have received all their funding up to the latest records of what is due to them. Who is doing that? That's an ODM chairperson that was previously given to government. So
that's a right, not a privilege, is it?
It's a right, but the government was not given that previously.
It's a constitutional,
it is a constitutional right. But what we are saying is implementation. The same government is stuck with SHA. And the majority leader, for example, in parliament is acknowledging that SHA is not working. So what are we saying? That as a political party, we are not just here to compete. By the way, politics is not just about competition, but it's about correcting errors within an administration. We are not going to go into an election tomorrow. We were not going to go into an election last year. So what has to happen is this. If a political party does not outrightly capture government, that's where we have an opportunity to have post-election coalitions. But then what are we doing today? Are we helping Kenyans or not? Is the treasury today, as it is today, helping Kenyans or not? Is this same minister supporting the previous finance bill or not? He's not. But somehow things are working for the government that was already failing. So we must acknowledge that the presence and the participation of ODM is not to the adverse of Kenyans, but it's in the interest of Kenyans. And that's what we would support, that's what we would stand for. And it's not the aspersions that Buka is casting here. Without a political party
on record.
Okay, so let me ask him then before you come in. Before Nathaniel comes in. Yes, hang on. Okay. If you talked about the finances, how about the lives of Kenyans? Why are you not helping the government address the issues of abductions and killings?
Well, my political party leader is on record. Raila Amolo Odinga is on record in the presence of President, reminding him that he must stop abductions. He must produce Kenyans that have been abducted.
Okay.
And that we stand for on a daily basis.
That is the 27th of December 2024 when he made that in Homa Bay County.
Absolutely.
That has never stopped then. Still Kenyans are missing, Kenyans are being abducted. Can he again remind him back?
What
Even
we
at
are
the
saying
moment.
is we do that on a daily basis. Today I would stand on this platform and say that we do not support abductions in this country. It is illegal, it's not acceptable, and we must not do it.
And why do you support a government that is accused of killing Kenyans?
We are not supporting the government. We are supporting Kenyans. We must stabilize Kenya as a country. The first thing that we must accept is that Kenya has to exist as a democracy before political party interest. So once we have a country that we call Kenya, that is stable, that is governed by a people, then what do we respond to? We respond to issues. The first controversial issue here in Kenya was the Finance Bill 2024-2025. Is it out of the window? Yes, it was thrown. But who is revising all these errors? We've come in as a people and we're supporting that.
Yes, Net.
Yes. So is that in support of Kenya? So is it in support of
let's get Nathaniel.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you so much, Abdi. And Philip and DG, and yourself, you are injecting nicely to Buka because Buka is giving misguided notions. And I think you should have stopped him when he was alluding that the president is a criminal.
I think we've done that successfully.
Yes, and I want to...
He said a criminal organized crime.
Oh, he mentioned...
I wouldn't allow him to personalize his submissions.
Exactly.
Clearly, it wouldn't pass my radar. He talked about organized crime, not the persona of the president himself. Yes, please finish up. I'll come to you.
And I wanted to say, the Communist Party is signed a pre-election coalition agreement with Kenya Kwanza. In fact, I'll give you the list of all the parties. I think he's an indisciplined member within the rank of that party. They should call him to order within that party. Secondly, the most significant moments in this country when Kenya moved forward is the moments where there was political unity. And it brought diversity of ideas, what Philip is calling donated experts. When there is political calmness, there is a lot of confidence in the investments. Investors will come, they will invest in Kenya. The economy usually grows because there is a lot of calm and peace. Right now, UDA has a political cooperation with ODM, and you will see that unveiling as the broad-based government is expanding. We've incorporated a number of people from the ODM side to the government to try and stabilize some of the political noises so that we have stability in the government. What for example, Philip mentioned, what the CS for Treasury Body is doing is that he is a good communicator. Initially, we had a minister who was doing his job very well in the office, but there was lack of communication of the good work that the government was doing in terms of the finance bill. There was a lot of misconception about that finance bill. It was a lack of communication. And even the president himself, while withdrawing that finance bill, he accepted that the government did not do adequate communication to the public. This was a very important point to mention. And secondly, when there is political cooperation, like what we have now between UDA and the ODM, you will see closing of ranks and very important bills in parliament or legislations that will be passed will be able to correct some of the issues or the teething problems that we have. I'll mention a few. You've seen the prices of the basic food commodities have gone down, and nobody's talking about that.
No, they haven't.
No, they have come down.
I have the report from the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics.
In contrast,
I can give you the percentage shortly. I'm
you can read the economic outlook reports.
Yeah.
Well, NBS and others. But
that's what I'm reading, and you can't dispute the science.
You must put this in context when you're reading it.
Okay.
Before the 2022 elections, we know where the prices were for the basic food commodities, and we know where they are now. And this is an important fact.
Mungare, why are you lying?
Can you just hang on?
Buka,
yes, I'll come to you.
Buka is excited when
we have 10 minutes to finish the show, so time is enough.
When I'm giving pregnant points, he's interrupting me because he wants me to lose my train of thought.
Okay.
Surely.
The most important point, Abdi, is to give context. Before the elections, the prices of the basic food commodities, the economy was not doing well. But right now, there is a lot of stability because of clear, decisive macroeconomic policies that have been put in place by the government. You've seen the interest, the borrowing rates have gone down. All banks have announced the lending rates have gone down. And you can see it's a clear decision from the side of the government. Nobody's talking about this because there is a clear campaign to misinform Kenyans that the government is not working. Government will never implement everything perfect from day one. Remember, as I mentioned earlier, this is the first financial year of this administration. In July, we will be going into the second financial year.
Yeah.
You cannot implement things that need to take 5 years within one financial year, Abdi. So that's why we have to give it time to implement through the cycle.
All right, points made. So let me read you then the change over the last month, November 2024, December 2024, the commodity name and price. Up by what percent? Maize flour sifted 2 kg 7%, fortified maize flour 2 kg 5.8%, maize flour loose 1 kg 1.8%, tomatoes 1 kg 1.8%, all this rise. Maize grain loose 1 kg 1.5%, sugar 1 kg 0.9%, beans 1 kg 0.9%, kale sukuma wiki that's 1 kg 0.7%. Only wheat flour brown 2 kgs dropped by 0.9%. All the other things, including electricity, is up. This is the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics.
Very good.
The science.
You see, these are what are the reports? They are quarterly reports.
Not quarterly. This is
monthly reports.
Yes, this
because
in comparison.
Month by month, the prices keep on fluctuating. Even for fuel, the price keeps on fluctuating. But if you compare it in contrast before the 2022 election, the prices were double for those commodities. Abdi, it must be very clear that it has to be a continuous process of trying to change the economy that was not doing so well. Right now, the shilling is trading much lower than at that time. That means that there is a lot of fiscal space in terms of the borrowing. We were paying much more expensive because of the dollar, because we pay in dollars, and much less right now. And I want to just make one more comment on what the DG Stephen said here.
Just hang on,
there are a lot of governors who need to go to
we are
Murang'a,
out of time a bit.
There are a lot of governors who need to go to Murang'a to learn.
Okay.
I saw the governor of Nyeri attacking their government, and I think you need to do some benchmarking with the governor of Nyeri to come and learn what you guys are doing.
Yes, I'll come to you, Anjol.
Thank you.
Yes, Anjol. I'll come to you, yes.
Okay.
It's very sad that 62 years after independence, young people of Kenya have been reduced to becoming freedom fighters. We are supposed to be funding economic development, not fighting for our freedoms. And as Mongare is really here struggling to defend, I think they need to pay you more and to tell them not to make your life difficult in trying to defend them.
I'm not doing this
because you're saying that government cannot be perfect in a day. And you're talking about the second financial year, but we could have seen it in the health sector, we could have seen it in the education sector, we could have seen it with traders, we could have seen it with farmers whom you sold fake fertilizers to. The only thing the Kenya Kwanza government has perfected is abductions. When you're doing all these things, then why major on the minors? Because your government is majoring on the minors and majoring on the minors and minoring on the majors. Because now we are coming from an AUC election where we spent billions that we have not been told how much was spent and how people made their way to Addis. And you can see the kind of government that we have. And we saw a very huge figure for the 2027 proposal budget for elections by IEBC, quoting it at 61 billion shillings and saying that some 3 billion shillings are in arrears. That is budgeted corruption. I mean, the expressway alone cost about that much. And you can see the kind of trajectory we are going, even with IEBC. And it's just the other day that we had a press conference urging, now again, going back to freedom fighting, urging the government to ensure that they appoint young people to the Boundaries Commission. And we said categorically that we have a record of 219 young people who have applied for the posts of commissioners of IEBC. So we categorically expect to see young people getting shortlisted. We expect to see young people getting to the final list that is going to be submitted to the president, because it is going to be young people who are going to drive the next election. IEBC gave numbers of about 5.9 new registered vote, new people expected to be registered. And I think that figure is more. It's just a speculation, but I think that figure is more because the Gen Z's protest showed us that we'll have more and more young people coming out to vote then. The voter apathy that we have been experiencing over the years might be a thing of the past. Even when we are analyzing our political analysis, we are analyzing our political environment based on the lenses of 1963, 1982, 1997, 2007, but we are going to have a very new face or a very new featuring of elections where we are not going to know where about more than 6 million votes where they are going to go, because it will be the first time they will be voting. Okay. And so we expect to see young people, at least 2, one male, one female, in the commission.
Okay. Book, I'll give you the last word. Angel, this was my question. How do you delink your party leader, Uhuru Kenyatta, from the mess within the political establishment? Abductions happened under him, gross violation of the constitution. A Kenyan, Miguna was forcefully taken out of his country. Court orders were not honored by the Interior CS, Dr. Fred Matiang'i. So was the case for the NDCI Director George Kinoti. How do you absolve him from this gallery of political players?
One way, because some of these things happened, Ayub, in that regime. We were all in this country. We saw some of them happen. There were mistakes that were made. But in the prayer breakfast of 2017, when Mr. Kenyatta invited Mr. Odinga and they had the handshake that formed a conversation that began the Building Bridges initiative, a conversation we are still having today of uniting the country, of acknowledging that there were mistakes that had happened in the past, embracing forgiveness and showing the country that we can move forward in unity, proposing that the country get, the proposals that were in the BBI to have the youth commissions, to have ward funds, things that we are talking about today. Mm-hmm. Those are the things that make me absolve them or delink myself from, to ask that we delink Mr. Kenyatta and my party leader from that. Because from then on, we gave birth to a new generation that thinks differently of how we should be constituted as a country, that the winner taking it all is not necessarily how this country should be run politically going into the future.
The last word, Buka, we sampled the feedback.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that it's unfortunate.
And briefly?
Yeah, yes. It's very unfortunate and sad that Pandey has decided not to attack the principles that I hold, but to accuse me for running to partner with an organized criminal government. If I was Pandey and ODM, and I'm a member of ODM who holds social democracy, then I will abandon that vehicle that has joined a person that is actually attacking the Kenya. So when I take that initiative, and should be clear, that the Communist Party of Kenya was sold wholesale to the Kenya Kwanza regime. In fact, even when they were calculating the parties, hold on. The parties, in fact, that signed Mwandawiro Mganga and Benedict Wachira, that signed this deal to buy the party, did not consult the party. It is indeed that the Communist Party of Kenya called me out of order to defend myself, why I took. So it is not that I was not called, and the case is clear in court, in the High Court about it. So I'm not lying about it. The only thing that the majority of the Communist Party members rejected that arrangement and left the two individual, Mwandawiro Mganga and Benedict, who now they are with them in ODM to support Jubilee government.
Thank you.
Now, in terms of the Communist Party Marxists that is rejecting, at the National Congress of the November, where we filed the registration of the Communist Party Marxist, now it is at the tribunal, when the registrar of political parties are saying that we cannot register the Communist Party Marxist while there's a Communist Party of Kenya in existence, rigidly gagging our registration, while we have the ODM and ODM Kenya. In fact, the argument is still continuing in court.
Thank you.
Now, it is important to finish this bite by saying, all these debaters I have here, which fresh ideas do their political parties bring? Because if you look at the deputy governor here, he's ashamed of the Kenya Kwanza government failures, is running to Murang'a to defend his position. Mongare's position, look at what he's trying to do. He's sweating every time. He cannot even defend.
I'm not.
Why? He cannot defend. In fact, he's accusing us of accusing the president as a murderer. But nobody actually said that.
No, I won't allow you to go that direction.
I'm saying nobody actually said that.
Allow me to. No,
actually, nobody said that. I wanted to say what I said because I wanted to correct it.
Can I just take charge?
Yes.
We are not here to personify the attacks on any individual.
That's true. So I just wanted to correct Mongare that when the president, and you recorded it, when the president stood in Nyanza, when the president stood in Nyanza and said, I will stop abduction. According to you, abduction is legal. It's not a crime anymore.
Thank you. Your point is,
finally, what we are saying is
I just want to sample the feedback, Buka. Just hang on.
Let me finish.
Watching this broadcast.
Just 1 second.
Just
1 second.
No, Buka, I have given you enough time.
1 second. I just wanted to differentiate that the new ideas of the Gen Z uprising is embodied in the new political party, Communist Party Marxist, and we will continue to strive for its normalization.
Point made. So let's sample the feedback. We sample the feedback. Bob Otieno Owino says politicians are using parties to get into power via alliances to serve their interests, unlike is supposed to serve the people, like we are now witnessing with rebrandings and realignments. Lillian Sioi, 26, says, mother joined the Gen Z during the protest while Gachagua was DP. I genuinely want to know a few things. Was it for optics? Are moral stances malleable? And is everyone worth joining? Babu Michael says, I was surprised to see President Ruto say Gen Z demonstrations was a silver lining for the BG, he means, and that loss of the AU is to another silver lining to work together. This clearly means that the ODM experts are riding on the Gen Z efforts. Unfortunate. Engineer Lazaro says main purpose of a political party is to be used as a vehicle to form government, so building of a strange pre- or post-election coalition is a democratic right within the Constitution. Frank Orinde puts it that the new political parties keep on emerging, but how many stand for something instead of championing good governance, accountability and human rights? Most seem to be more election vehicles. Without strong ideologies, are we really building a better democracy? Samuel Award says Mount Kenya supported President Ruto in his UDA party. They now want to support Raila in their own independent. If they want Raila's support, let them fold their village parties and join Odinga's ODM. Then we will know they mean business. Remy Butia says for Kenya to move forward, there needs to be a shift towards inclusive leadership and innovative policies. Without meaningful change in leadership, the same leaders and parties may struggle to provide the transformative solutions. Gabi Wakasiaka says Rigathi Gachagua has approved that tribal politics no longer works in Kenya. His obsession with ethnic numbers instead of national progress made him lose power, and now he's still making the same mistake. Bob says again, I challenge the youths who are panelists today to go for the position of party leadership of the respective political parties and champion for the youth's ideologies, since they can't come together and form their own political party. Well, that's all that we had. We are 3 minutes past the time, ladies and gentlemen. We have to end it at that. Many thanks for your time. Much appreciated. No, we're out of time. The gentleman behind me has a special session on the Gospel Edition coming up on the last day of the month. But I appreciate your valid contributions here. And to just state it clearly that this debate is not about attacks on any persona, including that of the president. It's healthy conversations to build our democracy, and the opinions expressed here are not that of Citizen Television or the Royal Media Services, but those of the panelists who are here with us. I thank you, Philip Pande, Youth Inclusive Advisor, Abuka Omole, the Communist Party Marxist Kenya, Nathaniel Mongare from the UDA Party, who is the Director of Political Affairs and Resource Mobilization, Stephen Munania, the Deputy Governor, Muranga County, and Angel Mbuthia, the Chairperson, Jubilee Party Youth League. Your time is all appreciated, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for making time. Thanks to you too for waking up with the broadcast. The hashtag on X, as ever, has been Citizen Daybreak. The SMS code is 22422 at Citizen TV Kenya and at Ayub Abdikadir. Gospel edition of next, Ibra? Gospel edition, right? Coming up with DJ Gigi, who will be with you for the next 1 hour. Thank you, and we'll see you next week here on the broadcast. Good morning.